Hello everyone, welcome to Whips Builds. Today we're gonna be building a tram network, or expanding the tram network to be honest. So over here I prepared this little bit of a roundabout and I'm just showing how I'm gonna end up connecting it. It's gonna change the structure of the city a little bit because of course I started off this whole area by building a big giant set of curvy grids and whatnot, and now I'm gonna be doing these tram things, but they're a bit more limited in terms of which kind of puzzle pieces you have. For instance, they don't have fractionally angled versions of themselves, and they're a bit more limited. And there's actually two types of trams tram road combinations. So these are the tram on road combinations, and there's also the tram in road which have like a pavement texture in the center instead of like those extra 2 lanes. I don't know if this looks that much better, but I think it makes more sense for a downtown area with a lot of traffic throughput to have those. Maybe I should have just kept space for avenues, but I'm not really a big fan of avenues, especially not wherever I want to build some residential stuff or whatever. I don't know. So here I'm just connecting them with some crossings, and the crossings are only for the tram in-road ones, so I used some transitions at the sides of the crossings to make it transition into the tram on-road kind of stuff a bit better. And the same goes for the T intersections. So yeah, it's a bunch of puzzle pieces. It might be a bit painful to place, so if you feel like you don't want to go through with that, then you can just skip the tram on-road, because the tram in-road, you still have to do the intersections with puzzle pieces, I believe, but at least you can just use the elevated rail piece on a piece of road in order to transition it into a tram in-road version. So this video or this build was a bit planned. I knew I wanted to do this kind of ground level rail around there, and I had been staring at that intersection in my preparation for a bit because I didn't know how to make it the tram, how to disconnect the tram from the road over there without it looking weird, and it still looks a bit janky to be honest, but that's just the way it's gonna be. Here I used the wrong piece for that intersection, so I rebuilt it with the one, because this one had like a normal ground rail offshoot on the left side without the road incorporated, so that wouldn't have worked. I basically a couple videos ago, I guess, I built this big grid kind of master plan kind of area, and now I'm just making it more I'm just filling in the gaps, I guess. I'm just making it more complete by adding these little things like rails I did last video, I think, or maybe I did that at the start already, but now I'm doing these ground level rails. I think last video I did a big park in the center, and I started to build some started to grow some skyscrapers there. And here I'm trying to figure out how to get around this part of town, because I do want some tram connection in that little semicircle as well. So I ended up thinking, I think I ended up scooching it over by one tile. I thought maybe the diagonal would look cool, and I guess it would have looked cool, but it didn't work. I guess there's just not the right puzzle pieces for it, or maybe the logic of the networks that just don't work. But I ended up scooching it over, and now I managed to find a way to get over there. And now I'm experimenting with how this might work. But yeah, it wouldn't go across that corner there, so I ended up with this again. And now I need a bit of an S-bend, so I just used some puzzle pieces for that. I could have just dragged that, and I'll end up dragging that when I'm fixing that bit later. But for now... yeah, I think this is a bit more of a short video. But yeah, I can't remember what I'm gonna be building. I just edited it and now I'm starting the recording and I can't remember what's gonna happen, but that's fine. So over here I'm just finishing off this tram network for a bit. It's kind of interesting if you look at that avenue roundabout piece there. Yeah, the tiling was a bit different for the pavement in the middle. I don't know how that is a thing. I guess it just got rendered in a different way. Yeah, and for those of you who noticed, I am using a tool that increases your hardware acceleration. That's like, it's called DG Voodoo or something like that. So it's a sort of a video card emulator that allows you to use modern GPUs with older games, for instance a game like this. And I changed the color values a bit. I'm not really happy about it. I'm gonna be using this other program called Reshade with it, that's gonna allow you to add some extra lighting effects and stuff like that, and also some color and contrast. I do think this looks pretty crisp already though. It just brightened up the colors, increased the contrast a bit as well, I think. I don't know, I can't really remember what settings, they were all very subtle, so it still looks pretty much like the old game, but just a little bit better. And the upside of that for me is that it looks better during gameplay, which is just fun. Well, fun, yeah, I don't know, it just... It's more attractive when it looks better. But the other upside is that in case I wanted to do like some color correction or whatever, I don't really need to re-render the entire footage that I have within the editing program that I use. I can just use the settings for the color profile that I want, and then yeah, it's already rendered. It's pretty hard to find a color profile that looks good. And then there's also the thing that I'm watching this on my monitor, and yeah, your monitor might have different settings, your room might be lit in a different way, so there's all kinds of things that can come around when considering these things. And yeah, I'm not really sure if it looks better for you. Let me know what you think about this color setting. And yeah, let me know if you have been trying out this DG Voodoo stuff or even Reshade, what kind of presets you really liked, because there's a lot of options for that Reshade thing, and I'm a bit overwhelmed at the moment, so I'm just gonna have to fiddle about with it and see what I like in the end. Here I'm just building some tram stations, and the tram stations that I have are all from the network add-on mod, and they didn't have the Tram and Road version. But since then I went online and I looked at some some mods, and it took me a while to find something, but I found a mod with a tram station for the tram on road that I'm using on that bit. So I'm probably going to be replacing those, because I think it looks better if it doesn't transition back and forth between the two versions of the tram and road stuff. Oh yeah, I'm going to be building a bit of a harbor over here. But first I wanted to add some tram stations. And here we have another tram station. This time it's going to be a diagonal one. Yay, they actually have those. Yeah, I think the downside of the way this, yeah, how the pavement work in SimCity is that the wealth level like dictates what kind of pavement is formed, but yeah, stations and stuff, they count as parks for some reason for that, and they just remove the pavement with it, even though it would make more sense to me if they actually added the full pavement. So I'm not sure how to change something like that. I guess you could, because there's mods that just remove all the grass stuff and just make everything pavement, but that doesn't always look better unless you're always gonna be decorating it manually with some diagonal puzzle pieces or whatever. Oh yeah, here I grew some pretty swanky big buildings. It's a nice building, but having two of them, and yeah, I didn't even mention the new building that I grew on the top side. That's a Met 325 building. Yeah, you can't see it now. Yeah, on the right of the screen there. It's like 4 buildings in a small circle. It's a 6x6 lot. It's pretty big, but I think it looks nice. And here I wanted to do some, because this is in an elementary school. It's a very big one if you consider how many classrooms you could fit in a building like that. That's probably like 2 classes per grade in terms of size. But yeah, it needs a bit of a playground in my opinion. Yeah, I ended up pretty soon deciding that I wanted that sandbox, and then there's this thingy, I don't know. I guess it's like some sort of a sports field or something. But yeah, I ended up decorating it with some pavement as well, adding some fences, because I think most preschools tend to have fences. I should have probably added some fences near the tram line, because now, yeah, it's a bit weird to have kids play near a tram line without a fence there. Even with a fence there, it might be weird. And here I saw this garage entrance and I thought maybe I can make that continuous, but yeah, the puzzle piece didn't work out, so it's just not going to be connected. Here's some very quick night shots. I sped up the footage by 4 times, and I don't know, you can just pause the video if you like those shots. I can post some screenshots if you want, just let me know in the comments, and I'll yeah, post some on Reddit and link them over here. So yeah, I'm just adding some more residential right now. The thing with residential, because for commercial I would be using pet malls over here, but they don't work with residential. The residentials need an actual road or street, or even avenue. I think avenues work, but they need one of those in order to be able to start calculating their routes. I guess there's like some initiating kind of thing in there, I don't know, but all the routes are always started from the residential area outwards. So yeah, they then end up at commercial shops, commercial offices, or even industry stuff. And then they can use the pet malls, but the initiation actually occurs from the residential. So that's why the residentials can't just use pet malls, I guess. It feels like there should be a way to make pet malls the same as roads, right? I mean, even just make them draggable or something like that, I don't know. I think that's just stuff that we know should be possible, but we don't have the access to the right variables in the exe. Because the source code of this game is still, I don't know if they even kept it, but it's definitely not published to the modders and whoever likes to mod on this game. Yeah, here I noticed that the tram line is not connected. I forgot some intersections over there. So that's why the route query tool is kind of useful, because it lets you know if your connections are functional. My apologies for my phone noise. I hope it's not gonna do that too much for the rest of the video. We'll see. So the root query tool, I'm gonna be using it over here as well, because what I wanted to do is make a bit of a shortcut towards that industrial thing, because there's like a ton of cars going over there, and I would rather see it be a ton of pedestrians, because they don't cause as much congestion, I believe. I'm not even sure if that's true, because I do remember when I built like a 1 million population city that the pedestrians were causing traffic noise. So I guess in a way they do. But yeah, I guess traffic noise is just the amount of people using a tile of network. So I guess that would make sense. But I'm not sure if that is also linked to congestion then. Because the roads don't really have separate capacity for like pedestrian versus buses versus just cars, right? So, yeah, I guess that would have just been too difficult to program and too much extra memory usage for the game. I think it would have been a hardware limitation, and I think it probably still would be in a game with cities that are the size that SimCity allows. I think that's always going to be the problem with a simulator, but I think the memory tends to be the main problem, because it's not necessarily calculation speed, because you could run a lot of the simulation through your graphics utilities, because there's like CUDA stuff and there's compute shaders in OpenGL and stuff like that. So you could actually have a lot more, especially for simulations where a lot of the calculations are simple, short calculations and repetitive ones. You could scale that up with a GPU-based calculation, but the problem is the memory, because the problem with GPUs tends to be how fast can you get all the data to the GPU, so you tend to want to keep your graphical data structure in a way that doesn't require too many draw calls, and it doesn't send too large of packages to your GPU, because that just limits your frame rate. So what am I talking about? Yeah, so the problem isn't necessarily the amount of calculation power that you have, but it's the amount of data that you need to transfer from one part of your computer to the other part of the computer. So I guess that is just a limiting factor for simulation games. If you want, I think I should have used some diagonal fences there, because it just looks weird with those jagged edges. Yeah, so if you want to scale up your simulation games even more, it just becomes unfeasible to add that much extra memory to a normal person's computer, and you can't really expect everybody to have a god-tier supercomputer in their backyards. So I guess simulation games just have to it should just be a simulation, right? It doesn't have to actually be like they tried to do in SimCity 2015 or 2013, where they used like a glass box engine and every drop of water was simulated and stuff like that. That's just ridiculous stuff, right? I mean, even a game like this, which abstracts a lot of the simulation, it runs fine for me, but I have an insane computer, so if you don't have a good computer, then you can still run into performance issues in a game like this, especially when scaling up your city to like filling a large tile. And the tiles that I'm using here aren't even completely land. If this was just a completely flat tile and I would fill it up, on this computer it would run fine, but my last computer was already struggling with the one where I just built a bunch of farms. So yeah, maybe the farms actually require a lot because of all the farm fields being a large amount of entities. I don't know, but yeah, here I'm just looking. I guess I shouldn't have sped that up. I was looking at some of the homes that grew over there, and I really like that. And yeah, some new buildings here as well. So yeah, I did some skyscraper shopping, and some of them grew, some of them didn't. I think I have a bunch of commercial skyscrapers still installed, but they aren't really growing yet because I think they're probably all high wealth. I'm not sure, but I think they might be, so I need to just get my education levels a bit higher in order to attract more high wealth commercial offices. And maybe just add some parks, which is why I built this plaza area here. And I'm just trying to get some more commercial to grow in the city in general, some more jobs. So I built some industry over nearby. Yeah, I think that was a bit ago. I zoned a bunch of industry. Let me know if these zoning colors are too confusing for you. For me they're not that confusing anymore because I've been using them for a while. But yeah, they are designed to be these colors so they don't stand out as much in screenshots, and just in general the city doesn't look like a weird patch of blue and green whenever you have areas that haven't been grown yet but you did zone them. That was annoying me. It wasn't annoying, but it was just this little thing that I saw in my screenshots and I was like, it's a nice screenshot except for the blue random stuff or the yellow random stuff that's just there that doesn't really correspond to anything real life. So yeah, I first looked for something with which you could toggle off the view, because in the normal view you still see the zoning. So I first looked at something that would like eliminate that. I couldn't find that, so I ended up just using a mod that changes the colors. But if it's too confusing for you to know what I'm doing, I guess you could just look at the good buildings that are growing, and it's not really important information for you, in my opinion. I mean, it's cool if you care what I'm zoning, but I think the green ones are still a bit more green, and the residential ones are still a bit more green. The commercial is a bit more brownish, and I guess the industrial is also brownish. But yeah, the industrial ones don't really have like the foundation texturing thingy to it. Here's some more industrial. As you can see, there's just a bunch of dots, where the other ones actually have the lines and stuff because they tend to be zoned in specific lot shapes and sizes. All in all, I think this city is starting to look pretty cool. Let me know what you think about it, if you feel like it at least. Anyways, please like, subscribe, whatever. Thanks for watching and stay inspired. Goodbye.